Anyway, Trump is on.
This investment coming into our country.
Let's hear what he has to say about AI
nobody's
shit.
really ever seen before, and they're very happy with the fact that I won the race and that they feel confident in their investments, and it's big money and high quality people. So my first day back from having a nice life, it's my honor to welcome 3 of the world's leading technology CEOs, and in the case of Larry Ellison, it's well beyond technology. He's sort of CEO of everything. He's an amazing man, an amazing business person. But to announce the largest AI infrastructure project by far in history, and it's all taking place right here in America. As you know, there's great competition for AI and other things, and they're coming in at the highest level. We're joined by Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison, SoftBank CEO, my friend Masa Yoshi-san, and CEO of OpenAI, and I would say by far the leading expert based on everything I read, Sam Altman. So that's great that you're coming in together. That's a massive group of talent and money. Together, these world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States, and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately. This monumental undertaking is a resounding declaration of confidence in America's potential under a new president. Let me be a new president. I didn't say it, they did. So I appreciate that, fellas. But it'll ensure the future of technology. What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors. We want it to be in this country, and we're making it available. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations, because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built. So they have to produce a lot of electricity, and we'll make it possible for them to get that production done very easily at their own plants if they want, where they'll build at the plant, the AI plant, they'll build energy generation, and that will be incredible. But it's technology and artificial intelligence, all made in the USA. Beginning immediately, Stargate will be building the physical and virtual infrastructure to power the next generation of advancements in AI, and this will include the construction of colossal data centers, very, very massive structures. I was in the real estate business. These buildings, these are big, beautiful buildings. They're going to employ a lot of people. And physical campuses and locations currently being scouted nationwide. They're making their choices of locations. I think they have their choice. I'd like to ask Larry, Sam, and Masa to say a few words and just talk about a little bit about what they're doing, and if you have any questions, and then we'll go into a couple of other subjects also. But this is, to me, a very big thing. $500 billion Stargate project. I think it's going to be something that's very special. It'll lead to something that could be the biggest of all. So, Larry, maybe we'll start with you, and we'll go down the line. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. We certainly couldn't do this without you. It would simply be impossible. AI holds incredible promise for all of us, for every American. We've actually been working with OpenAI for a while, and with Masa for a while. The data centers are actually under construction.
On the one hand, I think the AI stuff is already like a scam and very phony in terms of like the technological capabilities. But even if it was true, then Donald Trump is signing off on the displacement of the existing American labor force right now to the tune of billions of dollars. How does that work with the whole, like, I am pro-labor?
Charismatic, and the one that I think touches us all is electronic health records. Not just maintaining electronic health records, but by looking at electronic health records, understanding the condition of the
AI is
doctors
not
better
phony.
understanding
You're
the
so
condition
high.
of their
Oh my God.
patients
Sure.
and being able to
We'll talk
provide
about that
healthcare
after.
plans that are much better than they otherwise would be. A doctor in Indian River Reservation would be able to see how a doctor at Memorial Sloan Kettering would treat the patient, or a doctor at Stanford would treat the patient. We actually provide all of that information, all of that guidance to the doctors who are treating cancer patients or patients with any other kind of disease, made possible by AI. I'm not going to take a lot of time. I'm going to pass it to Masa, but this is a very exciting program for Oracle to be a part of. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. That's great. I feel tall now. Thank you. Well, Mr. President, last month I came to celebrate your winning and promised that we will invest $100 billion. And you told me, oh, Masa, go for 200. Yeah. Now I came back with 500. Because this is the, as you said yesterday, this is the beginning of golden age of America. This is one great example, I think, right? We wouldn't have decided to do this.
And I think so.
This is the beginning of golden age. We wouldn't have decided unless you won. And yesterday we agreed, we signed to make this happen because of this day.
Very nice.
So we would make this happen. We would immediately start deploying $100 billion with the goal of making $500 billion within next 4 years, within your term, right? Because of your success. So we are very, very excited to do this. And our partner is, of course, SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, and additionally investing partner with MGX. On top of that, we have the technology partner, NVIDIA, and of course, Microsoft has been very, very supportive to SAM and continue to support all our success. This is not just for business. As Larry said, this will help people's life. This will help solving many, many issues, difficult things that otherwise we could not have solved with the power of AI. I think AGI is coming very, very soon. And then after that, that's not the goal. After that, artificial super intelligence will come to solve the issues that mankind would never ever have thought that we could solve. Well, this is the beginning of our golden age. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Fantastic.
I don't have too much to add, but I did want to say I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era. And as Masa said, for AGI to get built here, to create hundreds of thousands of jobs, to create a new industry centered here, we wouldn't be able to do this without you, Mr. President. And I'm thrilled that we get to. I think it'll be an exciting project. I think we'll be able to do all of the wonderful things that these guys talked about. But the fact that we get to do this in the United States is I think, wonderful. So
Yeah, not China.
Thank you very much.
Could you just say one word? I hear so many positive things about what it's going to do for medical research and for solving things, cancer and all the different problems. How will AI help us with the fight against
My dad is walking around
diseases?
talking about the golden age and being rich again.
These guys can maybe share more about some of the work they're doing there. I think they'll jointly be some.
How does your dad foresee making money off of
I
AI?
believe that
Just
as this
try to
technology
get him to
progresses, we
walk
will
from
see
step A
diseases
to
get
step
cured at
B.
an unprecedented rate. We will be amazed at how quickly we're curing this cancer and that one and heart disease, and what this will do for the ability to deliver very high quality healthcare, the costs, but really to cure the diseases at a rapid rate. I think will be among the most important things this technology does.
Okay, great. Very good. Thank
Can
you.
I speak and answer that question, Mr. President? So we're currently working on, should I step on this? Okay, all right. No, no, no. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. I'm not that tall. I'm not tall. Thank you, Mr. President. One of the most exciting things we're working on, again, using the tools that Sam and Masa are providing, is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer detection. If you can do using AI, you can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that
He activated the trigger
that
word.
mRNA vaccine. You can make that robotically, again, using AI in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
Why did he say that? Why did he say that?
Yeah, just 1 second. We'll finish up. But these are highly respected guys. I was shocked with Larry because I don't even think Larry does this stuff. You did a very good job for a guy that doesn't do it much, right? But he's so respected, and the group, and it's really an honor. But for Larry to be here and do this is very unusual because he doesn't do this stuff. He doesn't need it. He does, and you don't need it, do you? Huh? You don't need it. But I think it's an honor to the country. It's a great honor that this group, these are the top people, that they're going to do it, and they're going to do it here, and we're going to make it as easy as it can be. A $500 million Stargate project comes in addition to a separate pledge between $100 and $200 billion from, as we know, from Masa. We talked about before. Also, $20 billion from DMAC, which was great. And we have many others that are coming. Some I just announce it. It's easier. But with some, I know them, and they're so highly respected, I'd rather do it this way. Many would like to do it this way, but we're letting the world know what's happening. This is money that normally would have gone to China or other countries, but in particular China. In total, before the end of my first full business day in Washington in the White House, we've already secured nearly $3 trillion of new investments in the United States, and probably that's going to be 6 or 7 by the end of the week. Tremendous amounts of money are coming in for many things other than even AI. AI seems to be very hot. It seems to be the thing that a lot of smart people are looking at very strongly. And our country will be prospering like never before. I think that's true, and it's going to be the golden age of America. As I say, yesterday we had the most ambitious, action-oriented day of any administration in history. No, there's never been a first day like yesterday, as you know. I signed a sweeping slate of executive orders to stop the invasion of our borders. I launched a government-wide effort to defeat inflation and bring down the cost of daily life and bring down the cost of energy, magnificently bring it down. And when energy comes down, Larry, I'd say generally speaking, when energy comes down, everything else comes down. The prices of food and the prices of everything else come down. Energy is that's the big baby. And we declared a national energy emergency to drill, baby, drill, our term that we use. We're going to drill,
Our
baby,
term,
drill.
I
like never
invented it.
before. We ended destructive DEI mandates across the federal government and returned our country to a merit-based system and a common sense system. As you know, the Supreme Court gave us a decision on merit, where things in this country can be based on merit now instead of a lot of different rules, regulations, and things that really put our country at a big disadvantage. We permanently stopped government censorship and restored free speech that was signed yesterday. We were renamed the Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America. Sounds so beautiful, the Gulf of America, and returned the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley. They took off the name. And he was actually a great president. He was a very, very successful businessman. He ran for governor of Ohio. He won and did a great job as governor, ran for president, and he won. He was assassinated, ultimately, in his second term, unfortunately. But he was the tariff king, and I don't think he was as bad as I am. I think I believe in him even more than him, but he believed in him very strongly. And he raised massive amounts of money. Our country was at its richest from 1870 to 1913. We had the most, that was when we were the richest, relatively speaking. We were the richest during that period of time. That was tariffs from other countries. And our administration's moving with unprecedented urgency and speed to confront every single crisis facing us, and we'll get the job done. And again, I want to thank Sam and Masa and Larry for being here. It's an honor to have them. And we'll take a few questions if you want.
About some of the executive orders, you would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're
This was
looking at
pardons.
pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything. But I can say this. Murderers today are not even charged. You have murderers that aren't charged all over. You take a look at what's gone on in Philadelphia, take a look at what's gone on in LA, where people murder people and they don't get charged. These people have already served years in prison, and they've served them viciously. It's a disgusting prison. It's been horrible. It's inhumane. It's been a terrible, terrible thing. I also say this, you go to Portland, where they wrapped police officers, shot police officers, nothing happened to anybody. You go to Seattle, where they took over a big chunk of the city and people died. Portland, a lot of people died. Wait a minute. And you go also, take a look at Minneapolis, because I was there and I watched it. And if I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city wouldn't even exist today. People were killed and nobody went to jail. So these people have already served a long period of time, and I made a decision to give a pardon. Joe Biden gave a pardon yesterday to a lot of criminals. These are criminals that he gave a pardon to. And you should be asking that question. Why did he give a pardon to all of these people that committed crimes? Why did he give a pardon to the J6 Unselect Committee when they burned and destroyed all documents which showed that they did what was wrong, not me? Wait a minute. Why did they give a pardon to all of his relatives, his brother who made millions of dollars, to all these different people? He gave pardons. That's the question you should be answering. All right,
Dog,
go ahead. Yeah.
you pardoned people who like bludgeoned cops. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm a radical, okay? And even I think that's a little wild. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. That is crazy. Like, sure, liberals do overemphasize January 6th being like 9/11 too, but that's insane. That is insane, dude.
For help. So I think maybe that makes it
Like
more
the
one-sided. I
bandwidth
think
that
we're gonna do very
Republicans
well. Look,
have
we're gonna take care
to
of
get
Los
away
Angeles.
with
I'm going
whatever
there.
they
I'm
want
going to
is
North
endless.
Carolina, which
Okay.
has been abandoned by the Democrats. And I'm going to North Carolina, very importantly, first. I'll be there on Friday. And then I'm going from there to Los Angeles. And then I'm going to Nevada. And I'm really going to Nevada to thank them for the vote, because we won Nevada overwhelmingly. And that's usually a Democrat.
Not sure if you ever looked at the full list, but there are
And I
dozens of
just
people
wanna
Trump
go there
pardoned in
to
the
thank
last
the
2 weeks,
people of
first
Nevada
term,
for the
that
big-
literally did
for the
massive
big
bank
vote.
fraud, yet just donated to his
So we'll be
campaign.
making
Yeah,
it.
I mean,
please.
pay for play, baby.
The leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were freed following their pardons yesterday. At the time back in 2021, you urged them to stand back and stand by. Is there now a place for them in the political conversation?
Well, we have to see they've been given a pardon. I thought their sentences were ridiculous and excessive. One of the guys took down a flag that was an anti-American flag, and he was given years in jail. I don't know the exact number, but he was given many years in jail. I thought it was very excessive. And at least the cases that we looked at, these were people that actually love our country, so we thought a pardon would be appropriate, yeah.
Mr. President, is it also true in your conversations with Republicans today that you asked them to consider recess appointments for cabinet officials?
I think, yeah, if it's needed. I don't think it's going to be needed. Marco, as you know, got passed overwhelmingly with 99-0, which is pretty amazing. Marco's going to do a great job, Secretary of State, but he just got, I guess he was the first one and just got approved. That's some vote, 99-0, and the nothing was a vote that he would have gotten if we wanted to do it. But you know whose vote that was? Who's doing a great job right now as vice president.
Did you also talk about some sort of a trade or a deal involving wildfire relief in an extension for a debt
Well,
ceiling?
what I really want to have done, I was talking about this with the guys back in the Oval Office. Los Angeles has massive amounts of water available to it. All they have to do is turn the valve, and that's the valve coming back from and down from the Pacific Northwest, where millions of gallons of water a week and a day, even in many cases, pours into California, goes all through California down to Los Angeles, and they turned it off. It's off now. The valve goes, it turns toward the Pacific Ocean, and all that water goes pouring into the Pacific Ocean. If they did what I told them to do, they wouldn't do it because politically they didn't think it was good. I think it's great politically. I think they're dead politically. What they've done, they've destroyed the city. What they've done to that city is unbelievable. The sprinklers, their sprinklers in there like these right here that you see, none of them had any water in them. They didn't have any water. The fire hydrants, 40% of them had no water. The brush was soaked, was just dry. Everything was dry. The sprinklers on the lawn weren't allowed to even be used. So, you know, everything was dry, and it was an inferno. They created an inferno.
He found it out. He figured it out. It's because California's woke libtard policies didn't allow for the brush to be the brush in the fucking forests, dude.
Times the size of it, it's massive.
The sprinklers in the forest, chat. You don't
Los
understand.
Angeles, why aren't they doing it? They either have a death wish, they're stupid, or there's something else going on that we don't understand. But we want the water that they're throwing away to be used for California. And that includes the farmers of California. You know, when you drive up north, you see all of the land. I couldn't believe it. I was with Devin Nunes when he was a congressman and some other congressmen from the area, and we're driving up and we're on the highway, and I keep looking at these farms, and the land is bone dry, and then you'd see an acre, about an acre or 2 acres, with the most beautiful green
Look at the ear.
plants growing in it, the most beautiful, it's rich stuff. And you look at the soil, and it's so rich. That soil is almost the equivalent to like Iowa soil. It's phenomenal.
You know what's funny about
It's got no
California
water.
soil is that it
reason
actually
it
had
has
really
no water,
dense
I said, "Do you have
fauna,
a drought?"
and then
No.
our irrigation
I said, "What do
for
you mean you don't have a drought?
agribusiness
Look at it,
kind
it's
of
dry
ruined
as a
it.
bone." The reason you
At
have
least
like an
historically.
acre is because they say you can farm 1 acre,
Which is
but no
ironic
more.
because that's what Trump wants to do
If you wanna
further.
waste water, but
He
they
wants to
take
do
water
that.
into the
He wants to
Pacific.
continue damming rivers, dude.
So we're going to be issuing an executive order demanding that they immediately let that water come down through California. Farmers, even people living
Water
in Beverly Hills.
bad,
Now,
got
those
it,
people have been
Hassan. Welcome to
a
an
lot of them are
actual
wiped out,
republic.
believe it or not.
Cooked to perfection.
You know, they were having restrictions, Larry, you know about this. They wanted to restrict
Oh,
you
you're
to
not falling to
38
Flora,
gallons of water
sorry.
a day. That sounds like a lot, but it's not.
It's a-
When you're a rich person and you like to take a shower, 38 gallons doesn't last very long. And they have all this water, and it's really good water. Up high, Pacific Northwest, some comes in from Canada, a nice country, by the way, comes in from Canada, and it comes all the way through California, and they're restricted.
This is another thing that I tried to remind Democrats when they were like when they were failing to mount a solid counter to Donald Trump.
And they could be
was
loaded
like
up
just
with
how
bombs.
much he lies in general.
Isn't it incredible that they don't do it?
In the
And it's to
most
protect the
smug
Delta State
asshole
that's a
fashion
fascist.
possible,
That's
and how
good
much
for
his
you.
fan
Anyway,
base
listen, how are
eats
you
up
protecting the
everything
Delta
he's
State by
saying.
not giving it water? It's a fish.
Like
It needs water.
he just
Nobody can answer
his
that
his starting position is just born out of nothing.
Well, let-
He'll
let me
arrive
do
at
this.
like one minor truth in a conversation. Okay, to beef up the complete unverifiable lies that he keeps pushing over and over again.
I have the right
And
to
then he
make a
develops
deal.
entire rants off
So
of
the
those
deal I'm
lies.
thinking about, Larry, let's
Like,
negotiate
oh,
in
well,
front of the
you
media.
know, California is doing water mismanagement, which, by the way, it is, but not in the way that Trump thinks it is. Okay? Because Trump wants to do more water mismanagement, ironically enough.
Oh, you can take the
That's
US.
his
The whole
advocacy.
thing
His
is
real
bullshit.
advocacy is actual
permits
more
worth like $1
water
trillion.
mismanagement to the tune of the
So
what the
I'm
state has
thinking
done
about is
already.
if somebody is buy it and give half
And
to
then
the United States of
And then he
America,
talks about how
and
like
we'll give
the
you
100-mile winds are, of course, he'll never say it's climate change, right? But the 100-mile winds are a unique event, and that the actual vegetation was dried out because California won't, I don't know, use valves in its forests. Like what the
that has
fuck?
no value or has $1 trillion value. It all depends on whether or not the United States gives the permit. So what I'm saying is let the United States give the permit.
How is California
and
mismanaging the
United
water?
States should get
Yasha Levine has a fantastic piece on this, specifically about agribusiness in California and the Resnick family and how they have basically bought out, all of the natural water supply of California in an effort to continue doing their agricultural business, pistachios specifically, but I think pomegranate and a couple different fruits as well, and that they virtually have, and almonds, they have virtually have a monopoly on the water.
put in jail for 5 years because they went after an illegal, and I guess something happened where something went wrong, and they arrested
wonderful
the
company,
two officers to put
Tangerines.
them in
Yes,
jail for
that's what I was
going after
thinking
a
of.
criminal, a rough criminal, by the way. And I'm actually releasing. No, I am the friend of police.
Did you just
More
say-
than any president that's ever.
Did you just say, I'm surprised he hasn't found a way to blame the winds on the criminal aliens? He did. Didn't he? Am I crazy? Didn't he initially say that this was the work of, oh no, that was with the terror attack. No, that was with the terror attack initially in NOLA. He was like, oh, that's a criminal migrant.
They've served years in jail. They should not have served, excuse me, and they've served years in jail, and murderers don't even go to jail in this country. And we had 1,500, we have 16 under review. As you know, we commuted about 16 of them because it looks like they could have done things that were not acceptable for a full pardon. But these people have served years of jail, and their lives have been ruined. And in many cases, listen to me for a second. Stop interrupting.
Oh shit.
They served years in jail, and if you look at the American public is tired of it. Take a look at the election. Just look at the numbers on the election. We won this election in a landslide because the American public is tired of people like you that are just one-sided, horrible people in terms of crime. You don't talk about all the people that have been killed and what happens to those murderers. Murderers get no time. You take a look at some of these DAs. They go after political opponents, but they don't go after people that shoot people in the street. They're caught. They know where they're living. They know everything. They don't even go up to pick them up anymore. They just let them live there. They know all about it. They have their pictures. They have the tape of the shooting, and they don't even go up and you're talking about this. No, we pardoned people that were treated unbelievably poorly. In the history of our country, there's never been anything take place like this. They're still looking for them, but they're not looking for the murderers, the people that are killing everybody. We are, though, and we're getting them out of the country. We just started that. We're getting them out of the country, and they're going to be gotten out of the country fast. They came in illegally from jails and from prisons. They killed many people. Some of them killed many people. About 50% of them killed more than one person. They were released into our country. That's what we're focused on, not the kind of nonsense you're talking about.
You've called for a ceasefire in Ukraine. If Vladimir Putin doesn't come to the table to negotiate with you, will you put additional sanctions on Russia?
Sounds likely.
And do you think that the war should be frozen currently along
The
with
war
their
should have never
guidelines?
started. If you had a competent president, which you didn't, the war wouldn't have happened. The war in Ukraine would have never happened if I were president. But that couldn't happen because the election was rigged. Yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, there's been some debate within your orbit over whether or not to keep or eliminate H-1B visas. What's your position on that? Do you want to keep H-1Bs or do you want to get rid of them?
I like both sides of the argument, but I also like very competent people coming into our country, even if that involves them training and helping other people that may not have the qualifications they do. But I don't want to stop. And I'm not just talking about engineers. I'm talking about people at all levels. We want competent people coming into our country. And HB1, I know the program very well. I use the program. Maitre d's, wine, experts, even waiters, high quality waiters. You got to get the best people. Now, then you go into people like Larry, and he needs engineers, and Massa needs, and this gentleman needs engineers like nobody's ever needed engineers, right? So we have to have the quality people coming in. Now, by doing that, we're expanding businesses, and that takes care of everybody. So I'm sort of on both sides of the argument, but what I really do feel is that we have to let really competent people, great people.
Famously, there aren't maitre d's in the United States of America.
Are you looking to impose
And
tariffs on
sommeliers.
Canada and Mexico in an effort to force negotiations sooner on USMCA?
No, it's
Yo,
really.
my man said I use H-1B visas for my waiter staff, dude. That's crazy.
Both of them. Canada, very much so. They've allowed millions and millions of people to come into our country that shouldn't be here. They could have stopped them, and they didn't. And they've killed 300,000 people last year, my opinion, have been destroyed by drugs, by fentanyl.
This has to.
The fentanyl
This has to
coming
make
through
people
Canada is
realize
massive.
what
The
these guys
fentanyl
care.
coming through
What
Mexico
these
is massive. And people
what these guys want the visa program to work for, right? Like, I mean, this is a pretty overt admission.
Case for the rest of their lives.
Wait, what did he say? 300,000?
Mothers that thought they'd heal. They never heal. They say it gets worse with time. It gets worse with time. They lose their boy. They lose their baby. They lose their young daughter to fentanyl poisoning. And I had that talk with President Xi the other day, too, of China. I said, we don't want that crap in our country. We got to stop it. I would have stopped it. I had a deal with him where he was going to give the maximum penalty, which in China is the death penalty for drug dealing. And he was all set. He was going to give the maximum penalty to fentanyl dealers. If they send to the United States, they were going to get the death penalty.
He's like, they can send
And of
anywhere
course,
else.
Biden didn't pick that up. I had that deal all done. It was all wrapped up. We were going to have it done. And then the election went, let's put it nicely, it didn't go the proper way. I'm trying to be nice about it. It was rigged. And we had an incompetent president elected.
He said the
and he
millions of
never
immigrants
followed
from
up on
Canada that have
deal.
entered
But he should
illegally,
have followed up.
300,000 people of America
Because
has
if they
been
got
killed.
the death penalty,
in
they
his
wouldn't be
opinion.
sending fentanyl to Mexico, Canada, and other places.
How much will the tariffs on China be, Mr. President? How much will the
We're
tariffs
thinking
on
about that too. We're talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada.
What did you write to that letter,
How
sir?
soon on those tariffs?
Probably February 1st
February
is the date we're
1st.
looking at.
Sir, what
Do you have an
For
update
for
on-
Mexico and China, we're talking about approximately 25%.
Do you have an update on the Gaza ceasefire, and are you planning
Why
to
not give the
travel
death
to the
penalty
Middle
for
East soon?
fentanyl in the U.S.? I'm
We're
against the
thinking
death
about going to
penalty,
the
but
Middle
for
East,
his
not
side of the
yet.
argument, first of all, he has said he wants to do that. But secondly, if you actually started killing American fentanyl dealers, you would end up realizing, or even the fentanyl traffickers, you would end up killing only American citizens. And his job. Oh wait, hold on.
You know how that happened, right? Did you know that?
Talking about
That happened?
Gaza.
When you find out, you're not going to be too happy because it was terrible. But the hostages are starting to come back. If I weren't here, they wouldn't be back ever. They would have never come back. They would have all died. If this were done a year earlier, if Biden would have done this deal a year and a half, 2 years ago, or frankly, it should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened. Nobody should be dead. But through weakness, they allowed it to happen, and then it was a disaster from them. But you go back just 6 months ago, many of these young people were living. You know, young people don't die like that. They're just dying. And Young people aren't dying at 22 and 23 years old. They don't die. But now they're dying, and you wonder why they're dying. They're being killed, and they have been killed. But they say 6 months ago you would have had 11 more living hostages. Think of that. 6 months ago. But Biden couldn't get it done, and it was only the imposition that I put on as a deadline that got it done. But it's a very sad situation. It should have never happened. I'll tell you, 2 things should have never happened. 3 things. Inflation should have never happened. It would have never happened except for what they did to energy and their crazy spending. And Ukraine would have never happened. Never. By the way, Russia never would have gone into Ukraine. I had a very strong understanding with Putin that it would have never, ever happened. He disrespected Biden. Very simple. He disrespects people. He's smart. He understands. He disrespected Biden. And also, the Middle East would have never happened because Iran was broke. They had no money. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. It would have never happened. October 7th would have never happened. But it did happen. So this is the cards I've been given. And we're getting the hostages back. That would have never happened under Biden. They would have never come back. They were just dying not that slowly. They were dying or being killed. But that was what was happening.
Mr. President, are you going to keep sending weapons to Ukraine, or are you going to turn off the tap soon?
Well, we're looking at that. We're talking to Zelensky. We're going to be talking with President Putin very soon. And we'll see how it all happens. We're going to look at it very soon. One thing I do feel, the European Union should be paying a lot more than they're paying because under Biden, I mean, we're in there for $200 billion more. Now, it affects them more than it affects us. We have an ocean in between, right? Little thing called an ocean. The European Union should equalize. We're in there for $200 billion more than the European Union. I mean, what are we, stupid? I guess the answer is yes, because they must think so. But the European Union takes advantage of us tremendously on trade. And they now take advantage of, and always have. If I didn't get involved years ago, my first term, one of the first things I noticed was that they're not paying enough. They're not paying. And a lot of those countries weren't even paying, the NATO countries, they weren't paying. Only 7 out of 28 were paying. We were one of them. And Poland was one. And they had a few of them that were paying, and some were paying very proudly. Usually the closer to the borderline of Russia they were, the faster they paid, okay? The ones that were further away tended not to pay so fast. And one thing on that, I think they should lift their number not to 2%, but to 5%. NATO should be at 5%, not at 2%. 2% is ridiculous.
Did you ask President Xi in your conversation about Ukraine, did you ask him to get involved in helping settle that? Can you tell us about that?
I did, yeah. I said, you ought to get it settled because he's not done very much on that. He's got a lot of power, like we have a lot of power. I said, you ought to get it settled. We did discuss it, yeah.
Mr. President, you launched a crypto coin the other day. Do you intend to continue selling products that benefit yourself personally while you're president?
Well, I don't know if it benefited. I don't know where it is. I don't know much about it other than I launched it. I heard it was very successful. I haven't checked it. Where is it today?
You made a lot of money, sir.
How much?
Several $1 billion, it seems like, in the last several days.
Several billion? That's peanuts for these guys.
Will your meeting with President Zelensky take place here,
President
Mr.
Biden, can you
President?
give us some sense, broadly speaking?
Yeah, he wrote me a
about
nice
what-
letter. I mean, I did open it last night. And I didn't know. Peter said, did you get the letter? I said, wait a minute, let's see the letter. It's sort of a tradition. You put it in the drawer, especially of the beautiful Resolute desk, right? And I opened the drawer, and there it was. It said to number 47. And it was a very nice letter. I mean, I could show it because I think it was a nice letter. Maybe I will. I think
Message-wise, what do you say in terms of
just basically, it was a little bit of an inspirational type letter, you know.
Yeah, I know
Joy,
I called you a
do a good
fascist, but
job.
my bad.
Important, very important, how important the job is. But I think it was a nice letter. I think I should let people see it because
He's
it was
leaking
a
the
positive for
DMs.
him in writing it. I
The
appreciated
girls
the
are
letter.
fighting
Mr.
drama.
President, were security concerns at all a factor when deciding to move your inauguration indoors?
No, not at all. No, not at all. It was just cold. Look, if we would have, you know, I just went out to the helicopter, right, we said goodbye. That's a tradition. As long as before it used to be a stagecoach, And then helicopters came along. But that's been a tradition. You go out and you do that. And we stood there for 10 minutes, and I'll tell you what, people would not have been able to get through that day. That was cold. It was sort of interesting. Don't let the sun fool you. Tell me something. Sunny days can get very cold, can't they? Because that was so freezing yesterday. You couldn't have gotten through it. It would have been.
What?
And the answer is no, it wasn't security. With that being said, I thought the Capitol, the Rotunda, was beautiful. 72 degrees, unbelievable sound. You know, it's like being in an opera house. I could see people wanting to do it there rather than outside.
Why did they remove John Bolton's security clearance, sir?
Because I think that was enough time. It's we take a job. You take a job. You want to do a job. We're not going to have security on people for the rest of their lives. Why should we? I thought he was a very dumb person, but I used him well because every time people saw me come into a meeting with John Bolton standing behind me, they thought that he'd attack them because he was a warmonger. He's the one that got us involved, along with Cheney and a couple of others, convinced Bush, which was a terrible decision, to blow up the Middle East. You know, we blew up the Middle East and we left.
Dude.
We got nothing out of it except a lot of death.
Oh my God.
Killed a lot of people. And John
oh my God, he
Bolton
got
was,
a side deal
you know,
with
one of those
Iran
guys.
to kill John Bolton.
No, you can't have that
Oh my
for life.
God.
You shouldn't expect it.
He got a side deal with Iran to kill John Bolton. John Bolton has gotten assassination threats.
Look, President Zelensky would like to have peace. He's told me that very strongly. He'd like to have peace, but it takes two to tango. We'll see what happens.
When will you meet with President Putin?
Anytime they want, I'll meet. I'd like to see that end. Millions of people are being killed, and they're being killed. It's a vicious situation, and they're now largely soldiers. A lot of people have been killed in the cities. They look like demolition sites. Buildings, massive buildings bombed and coming down. The thing with Ukraine is that many more people died than you're reporting. You're not reporting the real numbers, and I'm not blaming you for that. I'm blaming maybe our government for not wanting to release those numbers. Many more people died than what you know about. When those big buildings come down and they say 2 people were injured, no. Many people, thousands of people are being killed.
What?
But the real killing now is on the war front. It's a very flat land. And the only thing that stops a bullet is somebody's body. And you have young soldiers. So Russia's lost about 800,000 soldiers now. Ukraine's lost about 600 or 700,000. I think the numbers are low that they're giving out. But they've lost massive numbers of young soldiers. And that war should stop. It's very flat. You know, it's beautiful farmland, and it's flat and really beautiful in a different kind of a way, but they don't have any protection. The only thing that stops a bullet is a body. And those bodies are stopping a lot of bullets, and they're being decimated, both sides.
Going back to your conversation with President Xi, what did you tell him in terms of when to expect tariffs? And what can he do to avoid them?
About which one?
Tariff.
About tariffs? We didn't talk too much about tariffs, other than he knows where I stand. Look, I put large tariffs on China. I've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. Until I was president, China never paid not 10 cents to the United States. With me, they paid hundreds of $600 billion or so, or more than that even, of tariffs. And if I didn't do that, you wouldn't have a steel mill open in the United States right now. You wouldn't have one steel mill open in the United States. So what I did is I saved the steel industry. I saved other industries too with other tariffs. Other countries are big abusers also. You know, it's not just China. China's an abuser, but the European Union is very, very bad to us. They treat us very, very badly. They don't take our cars. They don't take our cars at all. They don't take our farm products, essentially. They don't take very much. We have a $350 billion deficit with the European Union. They treat us very, very badly. So
that's not
they're going
their
to be
fault.
in for tariffs.
Mr. President.
It's the only way you're going to get back. It's the only way you're going to get fairness. You can't get fairness unless you do that. But the European
I love
Union's
American
treated
car
us very badly.
manufacturers.
But essentially,
I love the
everybody
labor force,
treats us badly.
But our car
You
standards
know, everybody
are awful.
treats us badly. Yes, go ahead. Because we allow
They're
them to.
massive. Why
Because
would
we've
they
had
buy them?
Stupid people doing this, and we can't have, I'd like to have these three people negotiate for us.
They can't even
Just for
fit in
one
the
week,
European
and we'll be a
roads,
rich
man.
country again, but we'll be rich.
Mr. President.
Can you imagine a Humvee in an Italian road
Biden's executive order that opens up federal
or an F-150?
on data centers. Will you rescind President Biden's executive order that opens up federal lands for data centers and energy production?
No, I wouldn't do that. That sounds to me like it's something that I would like. I'd like to see federal lands opened up for data centers. I think they're going to be very important. Again, we have a lot of competition for that. So it's an honor to have
Someone
these
just, our
three
cars
great
are
people,
obese
great
too. Yeah.
CEOs and great geniuses, all three. It's an honor that they want to come to our country, but we're going to make it as easy as we can for them because other countries want them to. I'm going to have to go now. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Question, do you have TikTok on your phone?
No, but I think I might put it there.
American cars are fun though,
By the
Mr.
way,
Porsche.
Again, we won the young
Doug.
vote. I think I won it through TikTok. So I have a warm spot in my heart for TikTok, okay? Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Mr. President.
I think the UAW is fantastic, and I would love for the American car manufacturers to actually make cars that aren't baby murder machines.